Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Easier Said and Done podcast. And today I'm very excited to have Dean Fox on the show with us. Dean's one of the alumni from the Inner Circle coding program. He's sort of finished the intensive phase and is in the execution phase. He's actually working in a professional environment right now. Welcome to Easier Said Than Done with me, Zubin Pratap, where I share with you the tens of thousands of dollars worth of self-development that I did on my journey from 37-year-old lawyer to professional software engineer. The goal of this podcast is to show you how to actually do those things that are easier said than done. We're going to talk about that. And what I really admire about Dean is this guy went through setback after setback, still continues to have big challenges. I'd personally say, more than his fair share, really, when you think about it. But he's such a battler. And that's why I'm very proud to have Dean here, because through thick and thin, this guy has, taken big swallows, gritted his teeth, clenched his fists, and just batted it through. So welcome, Dean. Super happy to have you on the show, man. Really great to see you here.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Of course. Now, Dean, why don't you tell people a little bit about your history and your background? You're not from America, but you live in America. Let's start with who you are, what you do for work, and how we came to meet and stuff.
Cool. Yeah, I am initially from the east coast of South Africa, a town called Durban, great beach town. And I moved to America in 2019 to get married. My wife is American. And I moved here. We got married in October, and then March, COVID hit. So I didn't even have work permit or anything like that. So I kind of just sat around and did some odd things here and there, and eventually got my work permit. And I got a job in a cabinet building company. I had worked in IT back in South Africa, but I was just worn out on IT, like support stuff. And I did not want to go back into that world. And for some reason, I'd always avoided coding. I was always like, no, I can't do that. That's for the clever people. So I got a job through my wife's dad. He had a connection. I started working at this cabinet company, and it was going pretty good. Then we moved from Iowa to Tennessee to be warmer. And my wife got a job in an art gallery, and they needed someone to work in the framing shop. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. I've done some woodwork. Cool. Seeing it as just a stepping stone, temporary thing. And then a couple of years go by, and still there. And then I realized, where am I going? What is my plan here? This is not a career. We want to have kids. My wife would love to stay home and homeschool. What's the plan? So then I started thinking, what can I do? I really don't want to get back into IT. And a couple of years ago, I'd started a JavaScript course just randomly when I was bored one day, literally one day. And that was it. And I kept thinking, I must go back. Then we moved and life happened. So I thought, hey, let me try and pick that up. So I bought a couple of Udemy courses on sale. And I did them. I was pretty good for 2, 3, 4 weeks. And then something would happen and I'd miss a week, miss 2 weeks, miss 3 weeks, come back. Maybe I should learn Python, get a Python course, blah, blah, blah. That went on for about a year and a half. And then I started listening to podcasts, and I listened to the Free Code Camp podcast, and I heard your interview. And I was like, I'm going to check this guy out. So I went on and I saw, hey, I can have a call with this guy. Just whatever. Cool. Yeah, let's do it. I mean, what have I got to lose? And that's how we got connected, and the rest is history. And now we've been working together since officially started the program in August, but I mean, we were chatting from May last year.
A while before that, yeah, because you were going through, a crisis after, well, not crisis, but setback after setback. So, I've been sort of, over that time, really come to admire who you are. But so you've said two interesting things there that I really like to dig into. One, you talked about coding to smart people. And the second thing you talked about this, where am I going in my life? Before you know it, so much time has passed, right? So let's talk about the first one for now. What do you think about coding? Is it only for smart people?
Yeah, I should have clarified that. I don't think I'm a smart person now. I just think I was wrong about coding being for smart people. So yeah, I mean, I think you do have to have a logical mind of sorts. There's a certain mind that would take to it better and easier, but it's definitely not as unattainable as I initially thought.
Right. So would you say that, because none of us really know what smart truly is, we know what crazy smart is, but online, I mean, are any of us smart? I don't know, right? But would you say that with the right input and instruction, you know what? I'm going to rephrase the question. I want you to sort of provide the inputs here. So what could make almost anyone succeed in learning to code? What factors need to come together?
I say you got to want it, because absolutely. It can be a slog. The beginnings are very rewarding. You're getting stuff to display on the screen. It's great. It's exciting. Then you start getting into the slog. And I think persistence and reps I'm a musician. I know you're a musician. I used to teach guitar lessons, and I would say to kids, if you do 6 hours the day before your lesson, you're going to come here, you're not going to remember a thing. If you
Correct.
do 10 minutes a day for 5 days, you're going to remember what you learned. And it's
Correct.
about the repetition. It's about doing it. Like you can't just learn it once and go, oh yeah, I'll get to it in a couple months. Like I'll remember it. Like, you won't.
So can I ask
So
you, you used to be a guitar teacher, right? I'm totally self-taught on the guitar, right? But I reckon it took me 10 years to learn what I could have learned in 6 months with the right instructor. Would you agree with that?
yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm self-taught as well. I mean, I'm still not a great guitarist. I was good enough to teach
Yeah.
school kids. But yeah, for sure. I mean, just the guidance, like not having someone there every day saying, do this, do this, do this, and you just doing it from memory, that doesn't work. But just
And what
someone
about coding?
pointing
Do you
you in the
think?
right direction and answering your questions.
Right, right. Keep going, keep going.
I mean, yeah, I think that was all I had on that point. It's just someone to go to when you're stuck, someone to
Yeah.
remove blockers for you, because that can be like that can kill your progress. If you get to a blocker and you're just like, oh well, this is too hard.
Hey, hope you're enjoying this episode. Listen, I bet you're tired of the social media BS, you're confused and overwhelmed, and all you want is for someone to just show you a clear path to a coding career, right? We get it. My partner Brian and I, we changed to code in our 30s, and we can help you do it too. Brian and I have done all sorts of engineering work from startups to Google, and now we've built an exclusive private mentorship program designed to get you from beginner to professional developer. Whether you've done a coding boot camp, you have a computer science degree, or you're starting from zero, it doesn't matter. We'll build you a step by step and customized plan, not just for the coding stuff, but for the entire career change process. Look, I'll be honest, the program is not easy and it's not short. But if you do the work, you'll get results that will change your life, if that's what you want. So go to parsity.io/inner circle or find any of the links in the show notes and you can schedule a free call with us. Speak to you then.
That can kill your progress. If you get to a blocker and you're just like, oh well, this is too hard, I'm out.
You're stranded and you're stalled, right? Like you
Yeah.
set adrift. And so this is the thing about coding as well. Like, of course, anyone can learn on their own. Of course, it's totally possible. But is that the right strategy? What do you think?
No, definitely not. I mean, there's going to be that small handful of people in the world who just sit down, do it, and get it. But like, we're kidding ourselves if we think that there's a high chance that we're one of those people. Like,
Yeah. And what
and
about,
the chances
when you
are,
say
if
keep
someone
going,
can
sorry.
do that, chances are they're not going to sit down and be learning to code. They're already doing something great.
Interesting. Okay. And so here's the other thing that I keep thinking about, right? Like, and I was learning to play the guitar and stuff before the internet, but it's the same principle when I was learning to code, right? It's one thing if you have the grit, the time, and the perseverance to do it. That's great. But what is the it that you're doing? How do we even know what to do? Right? What was your experience of that when trying to learn to code?
Yeah, it's like, what do I learn? Like, do I learn, like, do I just build a project? What project do I build? How do I know what's too hard? Like, am
Mhm.
I going to sit down and build a full-on website with e-commerce features and all that stuff? Like, how do I know not to do that?
Yeah.
And what if I
And where
try
do you
and do that,
start?
fail, which is totally normal and expected, and think, oh, coding's too hard?
Mm.
So tutorials can help there because they start you, small and get bigger. But again, with the blockers, like the moment you hit a blocker, you can't call up that instructor and say, hey,
Right.
I need some help here.
Right.
Am I seeing
Right.
this correctly? Am I missing something? Um,
Right. So
yeah.
can I ask what made you, despite all the hardship and all the effort, what made you want to join the program and work with me? Like what changed for you? At what point were you like, that's probably the next step I need?
Well, I think a lot of what we've been talking about, the fact that I couldn't do it on my own, like I thought I could, and I could for small stretches, but the stamina just like, it's not that the stamina wasn't there. Maybe the stamina was there. It just needed to be brought out in me. Like it just needed to have some incentive, some skin in the game, where it's like,
Yeah. And it's
okay,
also,
achievement and accountability.
Mhm. And there's also something to be said for people with high work ethic are at big risk because high work ethic without knowing what to do is a recipe for going really fast in the wrong direction,
For
guessing
sure.
your way, and you will lose a ton of time. Like one of the other people, Matt, he talked about that. He's like, one day you wake up and it's like 5 years after you started and I've gotten nowhere.
Yeah.
Where does all that time go? It's because you're very hardworking, but you're not working the right things. And that's where you end up. Like, you're driving really fast in the wrong direction. You're in the middle of nowhere, not where you want to be. So from
Mm.
your point of view, I mean, obviously from your point of view, it's always a risk. You didn't really know me, you knew nothing about the program, you've done courses, you've been, and all of that. And of course, we don't do courses in the inner circle program. But now you're actually working in a real world coding environment on the side while doing your full-time day job still. Now that you've got that little bit of insight, and I know we've talked about this as part of the inner circle program over and over again, but I like you to, now that you've directly experienced it, summarize what do most people get wrong when they think about transitioning their career to becoming a coder? What is it that most people think of that they're probably wrong about?
The time frame is a
Mhm.
big one. I
Anything
think
else?
people think they can code in 6 months and get a job. They think they can do it on their own, not only with guidance in what to learn, but in networking and
Hmm.
getting to know people and getting
Yep.
experience of what a real job is going to be. Because you can do the best Udemy courses you want on JavaScript, and it will not prepare you for what you are actually going to be doing day to day.
So let's talk about that. Now that you've experienced what we're doing day to day, what is the difference between learning to code and being an actual professional coder?
Oh man, I've been working in this
Startup, right?
this side thing for maybe like 2 weeks, and it's hard to explain. Like, it's not that I don't use a lot of the stuff that I've learned. It's just you use them as like tools. You pick different things from them and piece them together in the real
Yeah.
world. It's not all laid out nice and linear for you. It's like, oh, you're
Of
going to
course
build
not.
this, then you're going to route it to this, then you're going to build this. No, it's there. Someone's thrown it at you and built it, probably badly and messy, and you've got
Correct.
to make it work. eh,
Yeah.
not add to the mess. You've got to make it
Correct.
like coherent and as best as you can so that the next person doesn't have what you have. And
Correct.
that for me is a big thing. I'm big on organization. I'm like, this is awful. I don't want anyone else to see this. I'm going to make it better.
Cleaner.
So
Yeah.
that,
And
that
this is the
can
thing
be
I
a
keep.
time suck though.
Oh, it can, and it's a learned skill, and over time you get better at not fixing things that don't need to be fixed, even though they look different
Mm.
from what you like. And it's like a lot of people think playing the guitar is about picking it up and pressing some strings and striking the thing, and it's not. It's a lot more than that. It's about understanding the notes on the fretboard. It's about understanding how your right hand does something different from your left hand, when to do it. It's about understanding timing and rhythm. It's not actually about the guitar, but it's about a more generalized set of theory or concepts that you then have to bring together, right? And I think a lot of people think that, oh, if I just pick up some music, I can improvise music with some, I can jam with people. Jamming is really hard to do. It's so much easier to pick up a piece of of tablature or chords or something. And same thing with programming. When someone's giving you a tutorial and they're giving you all the steps, it's so easy to build the thing out, even if you get stuck, right?
Mm.
But when you have to figure out how to build a bridge on your own without the instruction manual, all the principles of engineering still apply. Trigonometry, geometry, calculus, all the physics of it, all of it comes together, but it comes together in this complex thing that's no one thing. And I think that's what you're experiencing now when you're finally in the industry. Is all the training that you've had as part of the program, before the program, etc., has given you the vocabulary, the intuition, the fundamental tooling, but now you have to bring the band together somehow. And reason about other people's code. Man, tell me, how hard is it to read other people's code? It's hard, right?
It has been a challenge, but a challenge I'm very grateful for, especially in such a
Woo!
low pressure situation. I'm not
Yeah,
just being thrown in to a very high pressure fix this.
yeah,
I want to go back to your guitar analogy though, because it's a
yeah,
great one because you can read all the books you want about where to put your fingers on the fretboard. And think of a song like that everyone knows, Yellow by Coldplay.
yeah.
90% of that song is one chord shape, but
Correct.
you got to know where to put it. And then even if you put it in the right place, if you just go dring and you strum down the whole song, that's not yellow. The
It's not for
strumming
sounding. Yeah.
pattern, the feel of it, the rhythm of it makes the song. That you can
Correct.
technically know how to play the song and describe it to someone, but it
Correct.
won't sound like the song.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of all of these compound skills, whether it's music, whether it's being a good public speaker, or whether it's being a good manager, being a good software engineer. They're compound skills, and everybody focuses on the obvious thing. Oh, if I'm a manager, I need to learn about management, or if I'm a coder, I need to learn the code. That's the starting point, right? Tell me something about now that you started to interact with more developers compared to, let's say, a year ago, what's the difference in their attitude towards you? What have you learned in the program that has helped you get a lot more interest from these people where previously it wasn't there?
I think, and you've spoken about this, like you need to sound like an insider. So if you sound like you don't know what you're talking about, or if you're asking questions on very basic concepts, that's
Hmm.
immediately a flag for like, okay, this guy's like, he doesn't know yet. And
Yeah.
I've shared the story with you and the group where like I had an experience when I've got a friend who's a developer who I've known for a few years, and we used to talk, and he used to talk about his job, and I'm like, I don't understand any of these concepts. I don't know what this guy does every day. And then
Yeah.
we met up a couple of months ago, and like I was telling him what I'm doing, and he was telling me what he was doing. And he would tell me something that sounds kind of esoteric, and I'd say, "Oh, is that just this?"
Hi, if you want a no BS insight into how to change your career, whether to code or something else, and how to actually get job opportunities in tech, then please subscribe and like. It's no BS because I have zero incentive to mislead you. I just want to help you and give you tons of value so that you will consider working with me to get to your next career. Take a look at the description text below to learn more about the training I offer. But I do post content here regularly, and by subscribing and liking and hitting that notification bell, you will get to know when I post new industry insights for you. You'll also know within about 3 seconds if you want to learn more, but at least you won't miss out. Oh, and please follow me on LinkedIn too. I pretty much post there every single day. Just look for my name, Zubin Pratap. All right, so please like and subscribe to this channel, and let's get back to the episode.
And then we met up a couple of months ago, and like I was telling him what I'm doing, and he was telling me what he was doing. And he would tell me something that sounds kind of esoteric, and I'd say, "Oh, is that just this?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's exactly what it is." I'm like, "Oh, I get it now. Like I get this concept. I have the vocabulary for what he's saying." And then I
Yeah.
was telling him the stuff that I was learning, and he was like, "Yeah, we don't use that. Like we just use the stuff that's like borderline legacy." I'm like,
Yeah. Oh, so
okay,
you mean the
that's
stuff that
interesting.
you were using and which you're using now in your internship thingy is more up to date than what he's doing in his older job.
Yeah, and he's like
Yeah.
refactoring a massive code base, and they've spent so long refactoring it that there's newer stuff now.
Yeah. Oh, such a classic problem. Okay. And so, Dean, given all the struggles, given all the setbacks you faced, man, like you and Isabel and stuff, how does that feel? How does that feel to see that progress so clearly, clear as day? How does that feel, man?
It's rewarding. I mean, the days are long with a full-time job, and
Yeah.
to see some fruit from it is good, but it's taken patience, and
Of course it
patience
is.
that I was prepared for. And I think my failing to do it alone kind of prepared me for this, because I know there isn't a quicker way. It's not like I could be thinking, oh, if Zubin wasn't, dragging this out, I could be quicker, because I've tried that and it didn't work. It wasn't
Did
quicker.
well.
So
Yeah.
the patient, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's
Yeah.
easier to accept. The day to day is still hard, but it's
Yeah.
easier to accept that this is how long it does take. And
Yeah.
even, I mean, even if I get a job in the next couple of months, that's still quick, like in the grand scheme of things.
Exactly. In the grand scheme of things, like how does
Yeah.
an extra 6 months matter to anybody, really? You're much
When
more
you
likely
first
to
told
waste
me that,
4 years.
like, well, yeah, when you first told me that it's going to be at least a year, it's like, man, I don't want to wait a year. And then I
Yeah.
thought, I tried my first JavaScript line of code 2.5 years ago.
Years ago. Yeah. Time
Where would
goes
I be now if I just done it then? Like my life would be completely different.
different.
So what
Yeah.
am I going to say a year from now? Am I going to be still in this job and say, "Oh, I didn't do this because it was going to take a year"? Like that's
Time
crazy.
flies, dude. Time flies,
Yeah,
and we've only got like 4 decades of productive, really productive time in our life anyway. And it's not long. And half
yeah,
a decade can fly like this, a decade can fly like that, in the blink of an eye.
yeah.
Can you, you know, because given the way you think, you're highly self-aware, you're a man of few words, but you're extremely thoughtful, very analytical. What was it about the program that you weren't expecting that was a surprise to you? But now looking back, you're like, yeah, I think that was a good thing that was part of the program.
It's a good question. I definitely think the mindset stuff at the beginning, the first 6 weeks we go through more mindset and market development stuff as well, but it's a lot more esoteric, not coding. And that stuff was challenging. Some of it wasn't, because as you say, I'm very self-aware. I'm very aware of my flaws, but
Yeah,
I kind of stopped there. I'm like, okay, so now how do I fix my flaws? I kind of take pride in that. Yeah, I know what's wrong with me. And then they're like, so if someone's never asked me, so how you going to fix it? I don't know
yeah,
yet. So getting some tools to fix those kind of blockers, because it's not just technical blockers that you're going to come across. It's mental blockers, it's emotional blockers,
Correct.
especially because that can snowball very quickly. You come into a technical blocker, then you start thinking, I'm not good enough. Am I good enough? I'm not good enough. This is all I'm worth. And then it just spirals. So
Yeah.
being able to catch that and go, no, this is a temporary setback. This is who I am as a person,
Yeah,
and
man.
I can do this. And
Yeah.
yeah, that was, I mean, I knew that part of the course was coming, but you never know the impact it's going to have until you go through
No.
it. And then
It's
going
funny you
on
say
for the
that.
next 6 months, seeing it in action when you come into problems.
What do you mean? Like, so in the execution phase, when you're actually delivering on all the coding stuff, what do you mean by you really see it come into action then? Like, what do you mean for people who don't understand what you're saying?
Well, like when you maybe move on to a new concept and it just seems like a lot, and you're like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I'll never understand this. This is way too difficult. And then you stop and you think, okay, well, what have I done so far? That stuff looked difficult,
Yeah.
and now I can do it. So, and you think a lot of people have done this. Why not me? Like
Yeah.
they're not
Exactly.
special, and I'm not special in the reverse way. Like I can do this.
100%.
Um,
And I mean, when you first met your friend, a few years ago, the guy who's been a developer a while, and everything he was saying was total gobbledygook for you. Now you immediately understanding like that is learning. That's progress.
yeah.
And what was hard then is now easy. And now what's hard for you was impossible back then.
Mm,
What gets your ability to handle harder things just gets much better. And that means your life gets better because life progress is bigger problems to solve. That's progress, right? I'm so excited for you, man, dude. That's really quite wonderful. The mindset thing that you talk about, pretty much every student who comes into the program, and even otherwise, when people sort of talk about, they're like, oh, but this is about learning to code. Why are you doing this? And it's hard for me to explain to them, but maybe you can explain it better. Why do you feel that was important for you even before getting to the coding bit?
well, like I've mentioned, I think you need to be prepared for blockers because they are going to happen. Like no matter how much you think you're grasping the concept, there's gonna be something that doesn't work and you can't fix it. And it may be something dumb, but it may be a typo, but it's going to elicit the same emotion in you. It's going to be like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I can't do this. Obviously, it failed.
Yeah.
And then when you find that typo, you're just like, wow, that was dumb. So,
Yeah.
but then you've also got to be like, you can't kick yourself for that. You just kind of laugh at it and move on. And I think dealing with the patience, dealing with the rejection, the inevitable rejection of reaching out to people, they don't respond, or they respond a couple times and then just fade away. That's not personal. And it's
For
hard
sure.
not to take that personally because there's two people involved and they're the one bailing out. But people are busy. I mean, people have lives. So
Yeah.
you just got to learn, like, you just got to stay confident. This is not me. This is them. And now what can I do? Moving on.
Yeah.
How do I
Yeah.
keep going? Am I tired? Yeah, well, I just got to do it tired. Like making excuses, there's just
That's
no
it.
room for excuses. That you just can't do it. There can be reasons, things happen, life happens, and
That's
that's
it.
inevitable. And you said that from the beginning. Hey, there's going to be bad weeks, and you can't let those bad weeks get you down because it's just a week. Then you deal with it, and then you get up back on the horse and you start the next week.
Yeah, put
And
one foot in front of the other. Yeah,
yeah,
and
it's
separate the
persistence.
reasons from the excuses. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
remember the reason you're doing it as well.
yes, yes, because nobody in their right mind actually wants to change their career unless there's a big reason for it. It's just so much
Yeah.
easier to do what you're already doing and let momentum carry
Mhm.
along and coast along.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah, like
risky.
I'm comfortable. I'm not digging in trash for food. I'm comfortable,
No, yeah,
but
totally.
what I want for my future. Like what
Yes,
is my future?
yes, and you have
My
to
family's
walk
future.
towards that. Yeah, that has to be
You said
intentional.
something that's really stuck with me, and I can't remember the exact line. I'd have to look it up, but we were talking about where I am financially and all that stuff, and what I want for my kids. And you said something like, by the time your kids are old and you've done through this and you've had a successful software career, that's going to be your kid's starting point,
Hmm.
and they can launch from there. I was like, "Fuck, I never really thought of it that way. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Everything we
that
do in our life,
stuck with me.
yeah, our highest achievement becomes the next generation starting point.
Yeah.
That's how it works, right? And that's why with you guys, all of you, I always think about the 30-year timeline, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not playing next year games. Next year's a tactic, it's a stepping stone, but I'm thinking 30 years down the track because that's when we were out of time, kind of out of options. and the moment of reckoning is going to come. That's when the scales are held up and said, well, how'd you do with the time you had on this planet? How
Yeah.
far did you go with it, right? So look, man, I mean, you're an absolute beast when it comes to, you've really taken the mindset on board. Clearly that's resulted in you being a better programmer. You've now got this, internship opportunity, and you're actually doing real world work in professional coding environment, and you're encountering the messiness of it, the emotional and intellectual challenge of it, the imposter syndrome, the sense of overwhelm from time to time, the holy crap, where do I start? All of this, right? This is making contact with the real world. And this is proof of progress, right? Because 2 years ago, this wasn't even possible. This wasn't even in your orbit, right?
Yeah.
And now the kind of problems you're having is not, can I do it? The problem is, oh, will I ever get the opportunity? The problem is not that I have the opportunity, how the hell do I actually deliver on it? Right? It's a way better problem to have. So congratulations. I'd like you to just think for a moment, and given that your family and having the kids and homeschooling them and all that these are all part of your dreams, what are you most excited about the future? Not that you've done this journey, you've been an example to others in the program as well, and it's such a small group, you get to meet most of them. But what are you most excited about for your future as yourself and the family? What excites you most now?
Well, there's the obvious of having a job in this industry. Generally, you move up, you
Mhm.
get better salaries, things can make life a lot more comfortable, etc., etc. But also just the achievement, like the continual growth. I've worked a lot of kind of dead end jobs, and yeah, I mean, I've got raises and stuff, but it's like you're the shop manager. Where do you go from there? Like, I don't want to
Yeah,
own the place. What's my next
yeah,
step?
yeah,
So just yeah, like progress, growth. That is exciting. Having a path ahead of me, like something that
yeah.
I can aim for, something that I can work towards, and be
Like
rewarded for
a
those
purpose?
things. And
Yeah. Like
yeah,
a purpose, you mean?
yeah, yeah, I think
Mm.
so. Because yeah, like as you say, the day to day. I mean, my job's fine now. I don't really enjoy it, but it's
Yeah,
fine. And it's so easy to just go, oh, yeah, tomorrow's another day. Yeah, the weekend's here. Okay, another week. There, yeah, the
yeah,
weekend's here. And yeah, having something to aim for, something a little more like this is what I'm aiming for, whether it's a new job or a new skill or
sure.
something like that, or being able to be there for my kids and provide for them and not have to be just grinding like just to be able to feed them, that kind of thing. I'm
Yeah.
not of the illusion that money solves all problems, but yeah, it's just
Not having money creates a lot more problems though.
yes, for sure.
So that's the reality.
Just the safety of like, oh, my car broke down. I can afford to fix it. Stuff like that.
No, absolutely. And that emotionally liberates you. It also gives,
Hmm.
the challenges that you and your partner have will not be the challenges your kids face. They'll face a higher quality of problem. That's really what progress looks like at the end of the day. So dude, that's fantastic. Look, again, you're almost there. Like you've got the internships, and you've got the recruiting interest coming up. That's going to happen, and this is a down market, and you're still landing the opportunity. So it's always a question of time from here on. You've done an outstanding job, and I think you've got a very long future ahead of you, and you've got all the emotional and mindset skills that you need, and the actual technical skills. You're now in a position where you can genuinely teach yourself meaningfully. You've got the foundational stuff, and from here on, you get to decide what happens next. So congratulations, you've done a tremendous job.
Thanks.
I'm super proud to have been part of this, and I know the others have been cheering you on for a while. You're an inspiration to them. So really great job, and thank you for taking the time. I know it's time away
Thanks.
from your family in the evening, so thanks for taking the time.
I want to add one thing. I thought of an answer to that last question. Being able to model kind of persistence and this kind of stuff to my kids. I think that'll be super rewarding. You know, hey, like stuff takes work,
Yeah,
um, and this is the end product of that work.
yeah,
And I mean that can happen in any job, yeah. But I think this is a unique journey that I'm on, and it will be on for a long time. And I think it's a
yeah,
really great example to
yeah.
have to give my kids.
It's a superpower once they understand what the real price of dreams are. It
Yeah,
is a superpower because now you just had to pay the price. It's achievable. You just had to pay the price.
yeah,
That's it,
yeah.
right? And it's easier said than done, right? Hence the podcast. Anyway,
Nice.
dude, look, thanks so much for your time. I really
No
appreciate
problem.
that.
Yeah, good
And
talking.
yeah, say hi to the family, and you take care. So
Will
thanks
do.
for being on the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Do it. Just subscribe. You know you got to do it.